This is Future Talk.
Future Talk.
Future Talk with Omnia Al-Saleh and Hani Balkis.
Welcome back to Future Talk right here on Pulse 95. It is me, Hani Balkis, with Omnia Al-Saleh, bringing you everything you need to know about what's happening in the tech world, in the UAE, and around the world. And ladies and gentlemen, just like we promised, today we will be talking about and briefing you guys about Apple's annual developer conference that happened last night.
Yes, indeed. It was a very exciting event that witnessed the launch of a very new operating system for all Apple users. Whether you have an iPhone, an Apple Watch, an iPad, a MacBook, you'll be getting a brand new redesigned look for your home screen. But coming up on today's show, we have a new disease that we're talking about. It's new. I was going to say it's new in the market, but that's only because it's related to applications, and it's called WhatsAppitis. Or it's definitely pronounced WhatsAppitis. I wonder if you have it, Hani, because I feel like I do. The WhatsAppitis disease.
I have no disease related to WhatsApp. I don't use it. But we're also talking about Jeff Bezos and how he will fly to space on the Blue Origin rocket in July. Now, for those who don't know, Jeff Bezos is the CEO and founder of Amazon.
Yes, indeed. Coming up on today's show as well, we're going to be talking about Twitter launching super follows for users with 10K followers. Would you want super follows, and are you a little sad that you don't have it if you don't have 10K followers on Twitter? Because we want to hear from you as well, since Twitter has been launching a lot of new features this month, and every single one of them kind of feels a little more pathetic than the one before when it comes to trying to monetize this platform.
Yes, and we're talking about cybersecurity once again. Ransomware attacks are closing schools and even delaying chemotherapy and even derailing everyday life. We're going to be telling you all about that in just a bit.
Keep Pulse 95 locked because we'll be right back.
Daily digital news. Bits and bytes connect our world.
Your quick roundup of everything that is happening in the tech world in the UAE and all around the world. Yesterday was a very exciting day for anyone who owns an Apple phone, or even any Apple product, because every single year Apple likes to give its users a little bit of a revamp, whether it was for their home screen or even for the performance of their device altogether. And yesterday's revamp was actually the iOS 15 that came for our Apple iPhone, the MacBook, the Watch, and the iPad.
Yes, now Apple did wrap up its worldwide developer conference just yesterday with its 2021 keynote, and it was jam-packed with news and big announcements, including our first look at iOS 15 and the new macOS monetary and big improvements to FaceTime and much more. Now, we do know that iOS 15 is bringing big improvements to FaceTime. Now, unfortunately, we can't use FaceTime here, but we're also talking about how Apple will be building video and music sharing as well into FaceTime to kind of give you that more of a, there was an app, I think it was called Squad, where you could actually view music or view videos and listen to music on a phone call or a video call with someone. Also, Apple's going to use AI to read all the text in your photos. So we're talking about Apple's new live text, which will digitalize text in your photos, which can let you copy and paste text from a photo. So, for example, if you call a phone number that's in a photo, you can now do it. So let's say, for example, you take a picture of a supermarket right here in Sharjah, and that supermarket has a phone number in it on the billboard. You can now call that billboard.
Nice. That's a very nice feature. That's going to definitely come in handy, especially if you're someone on the go and you want to make the most out of everything that you see. They also introduced a new feature that's called Shared With You, which basically saves the links that people send you and puts them in one place so you as a user can go ahead and use them later. So this would work with Safari, which is the well-known web browser for iPhone and any MacBook computer. It works with Apple Music, Apple Podcast, Apple TV, and Apple News. So then you can go ahead and just pin any important message that you want to go back to later. They also are introducing Redesign notifications, which includes a notification that would collect users' typical notifications in a summarized basis. So basically, let's say you get a lot of notifications from WhatsApp, and that's a priority to you. It would actually showcase that at the top of your summary list. This way, whenever you get notifications on your lock screen, whatever you prioritize first will be shown first. So let's say, Hani, would, basically prioritize his SMSs first. So that's the first thing that you're going to see. WhatsApp would be last. Let's say Apple Music would be second. It would be allowing you to see what's important first and ignoring what you don't deem as important.
Yes, now something we've been actually anticipating for quite a while now. We've been talking about a lot throughout the couple of years now, that how you'll soon be able to use your iPhone as your ID, as your identification at the airport. Now, we do know that Apple's wallet will soon let you store your ID in a digital form in certain U.S. states, which will you then use as an identification at U.S. airports. And obviously, we cannot forget about the iPad. We're talking about iPad OS 15, and how it's going to let you drop widgets on the home screen and even bring changes to multitasking. We've talked about this time and time again. Apple does want the iPad, wants the tablet industry to destroy its competitors when it does come to laptops. So we're seeing how they're giving more freedom to the user with the new iPad OS 15. And also, ladies and gentlemen, we're finally talking about how Apple Siri will work without an internet connection on device speaker recognition. Now, for those who don't know, right now, if you want to use Siri, you will need internet. But now, Apple will let Siri process voice requests on a device, meaning audio won't be sent over the web, and Siri can accept many requests while offline. And something when we're talking about telehealth as well, Apple will now let users see family members' health data. So Apple is introducing a number of new health-focused features, such as the ability to share health data with your families and with healthcare providers.
Yes, indeed. But going back to the iPad features that Apple is launching, they actually have a little bit of a sisterhood going on between any Mac computer and any iPad, because they announced the Mac OS Monterey, which basically means as a user of an iPad and a MacBook, you can share a mouse and a keyboard with your iPad. This is great news, especially for those who have lots of gadgets on their hands. They don't want to be buying a separate mouse and a separate keyboard if they want to use their iPad as a computer. Now, this new feature would basically allow you to use the same mouse and the same keyboard across your Mac and your iPad, and your mouse cursor can actually move back and forth between the iPad and the Mac desktop or laptop computer. So this would basically turn your iPad into a functional second screen, which in the age of COVID-19, this comes in handy for a lot of people as they were working from home. Hani, as a news presenter yourself, I think it would be handy for you to have your recorder on one screen and then your news on the other screen. For, let's say, an accountant, I don't know, a lot of jobs require double screens, and being able to do that without necessarily buying a new screen, simply by using the iPad that you have lying around the house and your MacBook computer and just having to update your operating system, is fantastic.
Yes, dual monitors are becoming necessary for a lot of people just because of that multitasking feature. And for last but not least, ladies and gentlemen, we're talking about Apple announcing watchOS 8 with a new health feature. Now, we do know that Apple is coming out soon at the end of the year with a new Apple Watch, and with that new Apple Watch, a new OS. And we're talking about OS 8 and how it has new health features, including a new mindfulness app and improvements to the photos, watch face, and much more. Ladies and gentlemen, if we continue talking, it's going to take like 40 minutes. That event was like 7 hours.
Sadly. But
so we're just trying to give you guys the most
recap.
important things.
Absolutely. We'll definitely, in the coming days, be talking about every single feature separately, how you can make the most out of it. But if there is any feature that interested you out of all of those, let us know. Send in your thoughts at 4215 Dur Itisalat or slide into our DMs at Pulse 95 Radio. Coming up, there's a brand new disease on the market that is called WhatsAppitis, and I'm wondering how many people know what it is and how many people have it. Keep Pulse 95 locked to find out more about it.
Daily digital news. Bits and bytes connect our world.
If you're addicted to your smartphone, you might just have a disease. And we're talking about a digital disease that is now affecting our fingers, our hands, our muscles. And we're talking about WhatsAppitis. Now, it is a gradual buildup of damage to muscles, tendons, and even nerves from repetitive motions. Now, we do know that more and more people using, or rather overusing, their smartphone are now facing a peculiar medical condition, which is now called what's-upitis or what's-upitis.
Yes, indeed. And it's actually funny because just a few days ago, I was complaining about my wrist hurting me. So if you've had no injury whatsoever, or any trauma or any accident that would cause any wrist pain, then the odds are you have what we call what's-upitis. This is not a disease I'm coming up with or Hani is coming up with. It's a new disease that was named after the popular messaging app WhatsApp. And it falls under the category of repetitive strain injury, which is basically when your muscles or the muscles in your wrist, there's gradual buildup of tension on them that the tendons and the nerves start to hurt and they start to kind of get more and more inflamed from the repetitive motion of texting on the phone or even using WhatsApp. Now, a lot of people may be wondering who came up with the name what's-upitis. What's-upitis was actually first described back in 2014 in a medical journal known as The Lancet. And that medical journal stated that it was actually caused by repetitive movements over prolonged periods of times that could potentially result in tendon inflammation and injury.
Yes, now, believe it or not, a lot of people are going to hospitals about this problem. Now, obviously, they didn't know that they had what's-upitis, or even if something like that did exist, they did complain about kind of maybe tense hands, wrist pain. Sometimes a tingling feeling in their fingertips. Now, Ras Al Khaimah Hospital actually did say that up to 10 people per month showed symptoms, with some young patients admitting to checking phone screens up to 100 times a day.
Wow.
Now, the average smartphone user does spend 3 to 4 hours on screen devices each day, and that is the average. I spend a good 9 hours, but the pandemic...
Say even more.
Yeah, I mean, the pandemic has only extended that because of detachment from social circles and around-the-clock attachment to work. Now, we do know that excessive use of smartphones can increase the risk of carpal tunnel syndrome. Now, ladies and gentlemen, I've told you guys before about how to check if you've been using your phone a lot and how it actually does affect your physical well-being. If you go out and take your pinky right now, ladies and gentlemen,
yes,
look at your dominant pinky, the one that you hold your phone with. You're going to see a kind of like a dent on it.
Please don't do this if you're driving, because now everyone's just going to be putting pinkies on pinkies.
Yes. Now, for me, it's with my right hand, my right pinky, because I always use my right hand to hold
type?
my phone.
Okay.
And some people it's the left, some people
mine
it's
is
both.
the left actually, but I'm a lefty, so maybe that's why.
Yeah, I mean, some people even complain about a tingling feeling at night because of the heat of the phone.
Yeah.
And how sometimes it will make, like, you know how you have needles and pricks on your fingers?
Yes.
That's what some people would complain about.
Exactly. And this is what doctors have been describing as the symptoms of what's-upitis. So if you want to find out if you have it or not, it's a very simple, quick test that you can do to self-diagnose. If you haven't had an injury or an accident, if you don't work out often, you don't lift, then, you know, if you do those things, your wrist pain or your finger pain could be caused by one of those. But if you don't do any of those things, or if you do much lighter workouts, then any severe pain in your wrist, in your thumbs, even sometimes it can radiate to your forearm, and any numbness in your ring finger specifically, or your thumb or index, could potentially mean that you have what's-upitis. Now, let's talk a little bit about preventative measures. I can't believe we're talking about a medical condition caused by one app, which is WhatsApp, which causes us to check our phones about 100 times a day. Doctors have been saying that the main treatment for what's-upitis is to restrict the activity, is to restrict how much time we would hold onto our phones and check WhatsApp. Another thing you could do is to take anti-inflammatory medications. So that would be over-the-counter painkillers, sometimes using splints if your ring finger is very damaged. But if you neglect it, it could likely take months to heal. So if you do feel like you have what's-upitis, as weird and peculiar as this sounds, go ahead and get it checked out, because sometimes a simple muscle relaxant, a simple anti-inflammatory that your doctor can give you, and sometimes even just they may ask you to wear a wrist brace, this could potentially reduce further damage to your nerves, to your tendons, and we have one body. We might as well take care of it.
Yes, now this kind of echoes from Nintenditis, which is comes or derails from the name Nintendo, which we all know what Nintendo is. It is a gaming console.
Yeah.
Now, it is kind of characterized by the same pain, tingling, burning, and numbness along the areas of that thumb, index, middle, and ring finger. And again, Nintenditis, arthritis, what's-up-itis, all of this affects your joints, affects your bones, affects your tendons and muscles. And actually, this is not the first time we see a product being labeled or having its own disease. Now, Nintenditis was actually first described in 1990, and since then, several types of injuries associated with the video games and new technologies have actually been reported. Now, during lockdown for me, I started having problems in my pinky finger because I used to game a lot on my computer, and I used to type a lot, and I used to have problems. Sometimes I would feel they would twitch.
Oh, okay.
Twitch because I used to play World of Warcraft, and that was very kind of keyboard smashing type of game. And again, this is becoming a problem, and sometimes I guess our body is not created to be doing a repetitive task every time. Then that just goes full circle talking about autonomous jobs, robots, and this is what Future Talk is all about, is making our lives easier and reducing pain and injury.
Yes, indeed. Now, one piece of advice that we've heard from different doctors was to not use your phone for more than 15 to 20 minutes a time, which I think is it's hard to sit down and calculate how much time do you spend on your phone at one go. But also another tip would be to keep your wrists straight while you're using your smartphone. So balance it with both hands. This is something I'm guilty of, and I know a lot of people are. We tend to just use it with one hand at a time. So try and use it with both hands. This advice may really disturb Hani, but some doctors are suggesting that we use voice notes more often than typing, because apparently voice notes would help us reduce the strain on the thumb. It won't make us have to hold our phone as often. And yeah, just...
I don't know what kind of people are typing out essays and books on WhatsApp or text messages.
Paragraphs.
But,
fights over WhatsApp.
Again, I mean, the doctors know better than me, obviously. So listen to the doctors. Do take those precautionary measures. Precautionary measures and preventive measures have been the two words that I've been talking about for the past 2 years now. Thank you, COVID-19. But we're going to be taking a short break. And when we come back, we're talking about Jeff Bezos, the owner and CEO of Amazon, and how he will actually go to space on Blue Origin in July.
Yes, you're listening to Future Talk right here on Pulse 95. Our tech news never stop because we're going to be talking about Twitter launching their Super Follow tool for users with 10K followers.
Yes, now we're talking about that Super Follow tool for those users and how Twitter has showed a mock-up screenshot during a virtual event with investors where a user was charged $5 per month for those exclusive and additional content. Now, Twitter is set to soon launch that Super Follow feature that will enable some users with at least 10K followers to charge for providing exclusive additional content, like extra tweets and even joining a community group or even receiving a newsletter. Now, Twitter did announce earlier this year it was working on a Patreon-like service. For those who don't know what Patreon-like service is, basically, Patreon is a website where you can give back to those creators and give them a little bit of money. Now, as the microblogging platform does aim to drive new revenue streams, even though I still don't feel that Twitter will be making money off of it.
Now, the thing is, Twitter has been trying in every way possible to monetize the platform. Just yesterday, we were talking about the launch of Twitter Blue, which is their brand new subscription service where you can basically have different features than what you would see on the regular Twitter. Bookmarking features, the ability to undo tweets, not edit yet. I feel like they're never going to be giving this feature to any tweet out there. But having this new Super Follow feature is just a bit concerning because then you feel like people may start having to buy followers or do whatever they can to get the 10K followers to be able to get that exclusive additional content that, people are crazy about. I don't get the hype with it, but I do think that for a long time they've been wanting and teasing this feature, and just a few days ago they were actually showing a mock-up screenshot during their virtual event where the user was basically charging about $5 per month for that exclusive additional content. So having this new feature launched may just cause a lot of people to create what we may call the OnlyFans content or exclusive content for certain people. And this way, instead of going to, just like you mentioned, Tani, Patreon pages, or even there are so many websites out there that people would do for fans, especially YouTubers. They would create subscription services for certain fans if they want to get more of their videos or more behind the scenes content. So instead of having to resort to another website, another platform, this way Twitter will lure all of the creators on the platform forever.
Yes. Now, I do believe it's a very horrible move from Twitter, but we do know that in another monetization move, Twitter last week did roll out its first ever subscription offering in Twitter Blue in Australia and Canada.
Yeah.
And just like we said, it will give those users a 30-second undo button, which I feel is dumb. I don't want to pay $5 for an undo button to erase a typo. And apparently it's been a big demand by users, but who knows? Maybe it's just me. I feel like I'm a simple guy. But again, we're looking at how that subscription service will be gradually rolled out to other countries, including India, in the near future. Now, Twitter will also remove any sponsored advertisements for those Twitter Blue users who do pay that $5 fee, which is around 17 dirhams a month. Now, going back to talking about that OnlyFans and adult content, you don't want this. Again, you do not want this type of content on Twitter. Now, right here in the UAE, OnlyFans.com is banned.
Yeah.
And then this is going to make it hard for people who live in the UAE
to follow all the regulations.
Twitter might be blocked now because, again, it's going to be hard to go around this type of paywall to pay for this OnlyFans and adult content. Now we know OnlyFans is only used to do and post malicious things. Not even malicious, just 18 and plus adult things.
I actually saw, because with Patreon, some of them are actually just, a lot of YouTubers have been using them just.
Patreon is more like, hey,
any content.
I created a guide on how you can be good at this game. Pay $2 and you can read this guide.
Yeah.
Content. OnlyFans is content where it goes related only to video and picture.
Okay.
Right? There is no text. There is no nothing. Now Twitter sees that OnlyFans made a lot of money. Some people claim that they make around $400,000 a month using OnlyFans. A lot of people subscribe to that content. So Twitter doesn't want to capitalize on this market, but at what cost? Are they going to be saying that now people only at the age of 18 can join Twitter? Is that going to be the case now? Horrible move by Twitter. Jack Dorsey, get your things together. If you want, I can join your Zoom meeting and I can tell you all the reasons why. What you're doing is bad for business. But again, what do I know?
Personally, I think the only good part of launching Twitter Blue...
There is no good part.
No, the only good part is with it, you don't get ads. And the reason behind that is because at the end of the day, Twitter needs to gain some money out of this platform. So they're not gaining money by giving you ads, they're gaining money by getting it from you. So I think that's the only thing I enjoy if I were to get Twitter Blue. But apart from that, I don't find it anything unique. You know, getting the undo button, you can simply delete the tweet. I don't have that many followers to be worried about my content. But I guess for an influencer, they would actually pay the money just to be able to erase a thought that they gave out at a whim. Let us know your thoughts. What do you think of this brand new super follow tool on Twitter? And would you get it? If you had the 10K followers, would you go ahead and subscribe to it? Coming up on the show, we're going to be talking all about Jeff Bezos going to space on Blue Origin rocket in July. Very, very soon. Keep Pulse 95 locked. We'll be right back.
Check this out. Check this out. Pulse 95.
Ladies and gentlemen, we're talking about the richest man in the world. We're talking about Jeff Bezos. We're talking about Mr. Amazon. Now, let's give you guys a quick timeline of Mr. Jeff Bezos. At age 16, he had a summer job at McDonald's. At age 22, he started to work on Wall Street. At age 30, he started Amazon. At age 33, he became a millionaire. At 35, a billionaire. At 36, he started the space company. At 39, he survived a helicopter crash. And at age 57, he will be flying to space with his brother. So if you're talking about a 20-year span, this man has glowed up and blown up, literally. Now, Jeff Bezos will attempt to fly to space on board a rocket built by Blue Origin, which is his space company, as he founded as part of its first human flight in July.
Talk about a man of accomplishments. He has not done anything yet. I mean, he hasn't left anything that he hasn't done yet. The Amazon's founder's brother as well, Mark Bezos, will be on board of that trip. And there's going to be a third passenger that will be decided through an auction that they're going to be carrying out. So this brand new Blue Origin space company that was actually founded, if I'm not mistaken, it's very new. It hasn't been there for long. And the first human flight will be taking place next month with those three on board. Ever since he was 5 years old, Jeff Bezos has been dreaming of traveling to space. And at 57 years old, he will make that dream become a reality. He wants to see the Earth from space because he believes that changes you. And it changes your relationship with the planet and with humanity. We heard those exact same words from the first Emirati astronaut, Hazza al-Mansouri. When he went to outer space and he saw planet Earth from a distance, he said the first thing that this taught him on his journey as an astronaut was the fact that we are all one. You know, looking at Earth, there is no borders, there is no sovereignty, there is no this land is mine and this land is yours. Earth belongs to everyone living on that Earth. And I think that's the one thing that a lot of people who go to space and come back, they come back with a brand new perspective on what the world should act like and what the world should be like. Because astronauts aboard the International Space Station, they're all one. They all are there backing up one another. So I'm excited to see what Jeff Bezos comes back from this trip learning about outer space, but also about himself and how he sees the world.
Yes, and if you want to experience that, you can do it with a price tag. Now, bidding is underway for that final seat on the rocket, with the highest bid currently at $2.8 million.
Oh, my heart.
So if you can double that, if you can say, hey, maybe I'll go for 3.5, and you can bid and join the Bezos brothers to their trip to space. Now, the process will last until June 10th and then conclude in a final phase on June 12th with a live online auction. Now, we do know that Blue Origin was founded in secret around 21 years ago in the year 2000 and only became public in 2003 when Mr. Bezos began purchasing the land that now forms the company's testing facility in none other than West Texas. Now, ladies and gentlemen, with the richest man in the world, you wouldn't know why he would want someone to bid for that seat. I mean, why wouldn't you just bring your friend or something? But again, we need to put two things into consideration. Number one, Jeff Bezos and his brother are very athletically fit, because you cannot just jump in this spaceship and go with that G-force and all the gravity and the pull and this on all that things that I don't remember. But it's a lot of work and a lot of mental, physical assessment and tests to see whether or not you are fit, not only physically, but mentally, to jump into that space rocket. So apparently the Bezos brothers are fit, but are you fit? Not only physically and mentally, but is your pocket fit to kind of bid that $2.8 million? Now, if I think I'll be bidding for $7 million.
Oh, okay. Not bad.
Yes. And I will be then, after I go to space, I'll be in jail for not paying my debt.
Well, to be honest, you know, just like you mentioned, people will look at it as it's all glamour, but there's so much hard work that goes behind it. And especially because you're talking about Jeff Bezos being a 57-year-old man. So he has to train and he has to be fit physically to be able to make it onto that flight. Now, this spacecraft that they're going to be aboard is called the new Shepard Spacecraft. It will be launched on the 20th of July. And the name of this spacecraft actually comes right after NASA astronaut Alan Shepard, who in 1961 actually became the first American to go to space. So the new Shepard rocket is actually a reusable rocket that was designed to take on a small crew of passengers on a very short trip over the boundary between the Earth's atmosphere and outer space. So a lot of space enthusiasts was actually very fond of becoming that or bidding on that last seat on the new Shepard mission. It's going to be an 11-minute flight, but it's going to be a landmark moment for commercial space travel. We have yet to see how the billionaire tech investor Elon Musk would actually respond back to this, because we do know that they too are competing in the space war, and also in rocket industry.
Yeah, I mean,
SpaceX is booming, you know, and to see Jeff Bezos wanting to go aboard one of those, I feel like the next news we're going to hear is Elon Musk looking at his new space hotel that we were talking about last month. He might just also head there himself.
Yeah, I think Elon Musk should just bid for that seat and not go. You know, just say, hey, I'll buy the seat for $10 million.
And then just not show up.
Just not
Ghost him.
Just not show up, you know, like he never jumps on just as a big, hey, I can do whatever I want to. But ladies and gentlemen, Jeff Bezos is under fire because of tax regulations when it does come to his space bailout. Now, ladies and gentlemen, believe it or not, the richest man in the world doesn't pay taxes, but that is for another story. And after he does go to space, I do suspect a lot of backfire from his space company or from the American public to his space company. Let's know your guys' thoughts. 4215 do slots or on our Instagram at Pulse95 Radio. We're going to be taking a short break, but when we come back, we're talking about ransomware attacks and how they're closing schools, delaying chemotherapy, and derailing everyday life.
Check this out. Check this out. Pulse 95.
Ransomware attacks, we talk about them all the time, and especially during the COVID-19 pandemic, they were on the rise. We've heard of different stories. We've heard of people who have had ransomware attacks, receiving voice notes of people or of what they thought were their wives or their husbands, only to find out it was a hacker. We've heard of stolen money, but I don't think we've ever heard of delaying chemotherapy appointments because of a ransomware attack, derailing everyday life, even closing schools. But it's a reality and we need to talk about it and take caution from it.
Yes, now a group of organized but faceless criminals hijacking corporate computer systems and even demanding millions of dollars in exchange for their safe return. That is basically ransomware. They will steal all your information or lock it and say, hey, if you want it back, you gotta pay a fee. But these crimes have resulted in missed chemotherapy appointments and even delayed ambulances, lost school days, and even transportation problems. Now, a ransomware attack on the Colonial Pipeline in May did lead to gas shortages and even dangerous situations caused by panic buying. Now, just about 2 weeks ago, it was all over the news. People in America were going crazy and buying gas because there was actually a kind of delay in that Colonial Pipeline because those hackers were messing with the information, messing with the logistics. But this past week, hackers again have compromised the JBS meat processing company. So now we're going to be looking at meat shortages or other key food providers being at risk. And just last fall, the Baltimore County Public School System was hit with ransomware and forced to halt classes for 2 days, which were being held virtually. So we're looking at these hackers. They're trying to kind of hit you where it hurts, you know?
Yeah.
With the gas, I mean, it's okay, but when you hit me with food, that's where you're kind of getting on that personal level with me.
Now, with ransomware, it's a very interesting form of malware because it actually infects or encrypts a victim's files. So the attacker is the only person who has access to those files, and then they start demanding certain ransom from the victim, from the person who owns those files, to be able to get access back to them. So people would have to pay to get those files back. And this is how a lot of chemotherapy appointments were actually delayed, because nurses, doctors, any hospital would try to access the patient's file, and they are unable to do that because that hacker has those encrypted, and he's the only person who's able to access them. So the costs of trying and paying for that ransomware or trying to reverse what the attacker did, it could range from a few $100s to thousands. And a lot of the times those cyber criminals want it paid in Bitcoin. So ransomware is it's very messy because it can impact a single person, or it could impact an entire company or an entire hospital at a time. But we've heard from different experts that there are ways on how you can keep your data safe, and that is the most important one of them all, is to try and back it up. If something is very important, make sure you're backing up that information on not necessarily a cloud, because that could also be hacked, but on a physical space. So a hard disk would be a perfect location. Not to never click on unsafe links. This is the number one thing that we constantly hear from cybersecurity experts. Try to not click on any links that you would get in a spam message or an unknown website. If something looks fishy, don't go ahead and get your hands messy with it. Never use unknown USB sticks. I know gone are the days where we would see a USB stick, but if you see one, don't necessarily use it, especially if you've gained it from a different from an event or something like that. It's not necessarily always the safest thing to do, and only download from known sources. If you have a website that you trust, that's the only time you can go ahead and download from it, and not from third-party websites.
Yes, now believe it or not, back in a couple of months ago, Microsoft was compromised because they opened a phishing email. You'd think someone working with Microsoft would understand that email was bogus, and it did result into another hack on Microsoft, and then ultimately to a lot of other government corporations that were using Microsoft servers. But ladies and gentlemen, let us know your guys' thoughts. 4215, do it, slot, or on Instagram at Pulse95 Radio. But this does conclude Future Talk for today. We'll be seeing you guys tomorrow, same time, same place. But in the meantime, we got Afternoon Karak, Aisha Al-Mazmi, and Makil Atiyah will be giving you everything you need to know about what's happening in games,
pop culture, shows, movies, you name it. They always have the most exciting news in store for all of you. We want to wish you a blessed afternoon and a very productive Tuesday. Hang in there, and we'll see you tomorrow, same time, same place, only here on Pulse 95.
If you liked this episode of Future Talk, drop a like and subscribe.
Pulse 95.
Be sure to follow us on Instagram for all our daily updates and top stories.